What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. This is Web Dev Journey, and today we're actually going to store or actually save a tweet. So we're going to be creating a tweet and storing it in a model, which we don't have right now. So that's what we're going to be doing all of that today. So as you could tell, it's probably going to be a long video. All right, let's get started, shall we? So we need to create a model for all of our tweets. I'm just calling them tweets, man. I don't know. So we're going to, in here, new file, or we're on our server file, by the way. On our server, models, we're going to create a new model, yeah. And we're going to call it tweet model. Right? That sounds fair, right? I'm just copy everything from over here because it's basically the same thing. So instead of user or user schema, Control D, we're going to be using the tweet schema. We're going to call this tweet, I guess, right? Tweet. And we're going to export tweet. All right, you might notice one thing that I did add this timestamp without you guys. I did add this timestamp equals true because I forgot to add that in the last time we did this. This is basically just to create, you know, when was it created, when was it modified. That's it. So in here, this is where we're going to store our tweets, obviously, and we're not going to need a name, so we're going to get rid of that, nor an email, but we are going to just rename this to message. I don't think Twitter actually has titles, right? It's just a message. Let me check. I was looking at it earlier. Yeah, there is no title. It's just messages. Okay, so it's just messages. This is the name and then message, and then an image if you want it to, right? A message and then an image. Okay. So we got a message, and later on we will add the image, but not right now. Let me get rid of these because we don't need that. But we are going to add one more thing, and that is who created this tweet, right? So I'm gonna just call this creator, and this is where things are going to be different, or you probably never used this way of creating a schema before. So what we're going to be doing is the type. I want this to be, I just want this right here, this object to refer back to the user model, right? I just want it to refer back to it because we know that this user model, it gives out an ID, right? A user ID. So what I want to store in here is the actual ID Mongoose creates for this user model, and you'll see what I'm talking about once I create a actual tweet. But this creator is only going to have an ID, the user ID, nothing else. Because obviously with that user ID, we could figure out who actually, who the creator is by using the user model. It'll give us a name, email, and all that stuff. But I don't want to store the name in here. I just want to store the ID of that user in here. So the type is going to be mongoose.schema.types.object type. Object ID. We all know that Mongoose gives it its own proper object ID, and we need to, just play along with them. So we do need to say type is going to be equal an object ID, and then we also want to say ref because we want to reference the user. User is whatever you named it right here, right? Whatever you named this right here. Oops, that's what you put in here, right? But we want to reference our user model because, like I said, this is going to store the ID of the user. And how are we going to actually figure out whose ID belongs to? Well, by referencing the user where it comes from, right? So back in user model, we do need to make a few changes. In our user schema, this is going to have a one-to-many relationship, right? Because we could have one user create many tweets. So we need to have a reference here to our tweet model, right? So I'm going to create another property right down below. And I'm going to just call this, you could call it whatever you want. I'm going to say chirps, or not chirps, tweets. Oh God, tweets created. And this tweets creator is going to be an array. And what it's going to take is an object well, let me actually do it this way. It's going to be an object inside the array, and every object or every property inside the array is going to have a type. It's going to be the exact same thing as over here, right? Like I said, I don't want to reference to the actual tweet. I don't want to store the actual tweet in here. What I want to do is store the tweet's ID that Mongoose gives us automatically and store that in here. And then later on, if you want to populate it with the actual tweets, we could do that. But instead of referencing user, obviously, we want to reference whatever we named it over here, which is just tweet, okay? So there you go. So now every time I create or a user creates a tweet, is going to store that tweet ID inside of here. And over here is going to store the user's ID in the creator. So what I want to do here now that we're done with this, now what I want to do is actually use this model. So we're going to create a new folder. It's going to be called services. Man, I just got lightheaded for some reason. Anyways, inside services, we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call this I'm going to call it tweet service.js. And what this file is basically going to do is actually, do a lot of the methods that we would normally do, like add a chirp to the MongoDB or pull from the chirp. Sorry, I keep on saying chirp because that's initially what I was going to think. But anyways, add a tweet to MongoDB, pull a certain tweet, pull all the tweets from this user. It's going to do all those services for us. This is the tweet service. So anything related to tweets, adding a tweet, modifying a tweet, whatever you want to do is going to be inside of this, and we're just going to reference that in our routes, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And now, if you paid attention to my other routes or my other videos, you know exactly how this is going to work out. So first of all, let's grab our tweet model. We're going to set that equal to require. Dude, this let me remove that. There's a wire in my way. We're going to set that to require, and we're going to require the, where is it at? Models / the tweet model. All right. And then we're going to create a class. We're going to call it the tweet service. And before I do anything, I'm going to go into module.exports. We're going to set that equal to tweet service. Okay, now above, we're going to make this a simple async function. So async, we're going to say add tweet, meaning add a tweet to our MongoDB. And simply, we're only going to pass in a message, right? That's the only thing that we need. And also the user ID. The reason why is because we need that, remember, because we're saving the user ID inside of our creator, right? So we just need the message and the actual user ID that we need to save to reference back to the user, right? And then after that, what we're going to do is const tweet is going to equal new tweet, and we're simply going to pass in message, and then creator is going to be the user ID, that one that we just set up. And after we're done with that, all we're going to be doing is return tweet.save. So now that we have this service to actually add a tweet to our MongoDB, and what we're returning is literally the tweet.save. So it's going to return back the actual tweet itself once we use this service. Now, since we have this service, we do need to use it. So over here in app.js, up above, I'm actually going to grab that const tweet service is going to equal require. Screw it. It's going to equal require. Where is it at? Services / tweet service. And then down below, we're going to grab that. So right here, const lowercase tweet service is going to equal we're going to create a new instance of the tweet service. And then down below in our, where's our routes? All right, here. We're going to be passing in the tweet service, just like that. All right. Now we have access to the tweet service from our routes. So inside of routes, index.js, we do have params now. I'm going to call it params. And we're simply going to pass that to our user for right now, our user route. Control save this. So now inside of our user route, we do have access to params, and we could actually grab const tweet service. We're going to set that equal to params, and now we have access to the tweet service. So what I'm going to do here is actually create a route to actually add a tweet to our database. Okay, so in here we're going to say router dot post, because it's going to be a post request, and we're going to call this slash tweet, and we're going to make this async rec res next. And for right now, what we're going to be doing is const. We know for a fact that we are going to be sending in a message from our front end, and we're also going to be sending in the user ID from our front end as well. So we're going to set that equal to rec.body. Now we haven't set up our front end, so let's do that right now. But basically what we're going to do is log out message and user ID. All right, just like so. That is it. That's all we're doing for right now in this server side anyways. So let's go to our front end side and actually set up a form to actually tweet. Let's go to client and let's go to source, and inside of components, this is where I'm going to create a tweet component, I guess, for a form. So inside of components, let's make a new file. I don't even know what to call this. Tweet form? I don't know, man. .js. And in here, we're going to create a form for our tweet, right? So we don't need this no more. We're going to call this tweet. Well, actually, we could call it tweet form. Make it like that, and then get rid of all this. And this is going to be a form. And inside of our form, we're going to have a input. No, we don't need an input, right? Because it's just a message. So all we need is a text area. So text area. And right here, we're going to say name is going to equal message. And we're also going to have a placeholder. Holder. Tell me something juicy. And there you go. We have a text area and we have a name and a placeholder. And now we need to save that data, whatever they're typing in. Oh, let's create a button as well. A button. This is going to be type is going to be equal to submit. And we're going to say submit. All right. And right here, we're going to say on submit. We're going to create a little, we're going to create a function handle submit, just like that, handle submit. So now we got to create that. Let's go up above, and we're going to say const handle submit. It's going to equal a function with e provided in event, so that way we could say, hey, e dot prevent default. And then what we're going to be doing is now we need to actually save the message coming in from the text area. So we're going to say, let's first create a use state. So const, we're going to call this message, and then set message is going to equal use state, and at first it's going to be an empty string, right? Because there's nothing for the message. And then on text area, we're going to say on change. What we want to do is, on change. What we want to do is provide the E, and I'm going to do it in line right here, but you can create a function up above to do what I'm doing right here. And I'm going to just do say set message, and we're going to set the message to e.target.value. And let me do word wrap so that we can see. All right, so on change, we're going to target.value. Grab that value and then store it in text message or in the set message. All right, and down here, once they hit the submit button, what we want to do is console.log for right now the message to see if we actually grabbed it, right? All right, let's try this out. Hopefully it works. So cd client npm start, and let's actually do the other one, cd server npm. Why'd you do that, man? npm start, or not services, npm start, and that started our backend, which is good. Nothing's went wrong, so we did our models correctly and we imported everything correctly. And now let's actually look at our front end to see if, okay, we have it. By the way, I forgot to do something. We forgot to actually use this tweet form somewhere. So for right now in pages, I'm gonna go to profile and we're gonna use it right in here. So let's actually grab that, import tweet form from, where is it at? No, out one. It's inside the components / tweet form. There it is. And now we're going to just use it right in here. Tweet form, just like so. And I could just do this because you don't need this. All right, control save. Everything should be working. It should. It's compiling, which is not a good thing. Okay, so let's go to profile and we should see, there it is right there, our little nasty looking form. And right here, let me actually F12. All right, tell me this works. Now let's hit submit, and okay, we actually grab it. That's really good. So now what we need to do is actually send this message to the back end. Okay, so going into our tweet form, we are going to be using Axios. So import, what was that? Import Axios from Axios. All right, and now we need to use that. So instead of console logging, we're going to use it down here. Axios.put post, not put, post, and it's going to be in HTTP / localhost 80, no, not 70, 80, and it's going to be /user /tweet, if I believe, right? It should be. And we do need to pass it the message and the user ID. So right now we don't have a user ID because we're logged out, first of all, and second of all, this tweet form doesn't have access to that user context. But no worries. What we could do is actually pass that user down for props. So user. So we're going to say user is going to equal user. And now we're going to have access to that in tweet form via props. And let me actually console log that instead. So log out props.user. Right? All right. So let's go back to our page. And this is all on submit. So we do need to submit this. So let's actually submit it and we should see null. We're not logged in. So let's log in. web dev journey. And we should, there we go. We do have that. Let's go to profile. Let's submit this. And look at that. We do have a user with a name and user ID, right? So now that we have that user ID, we could actually send that out. All right. So let's get rid of it. I mean, access that again. And we're going to be sending some data to this tweet, right? We're going to be sending the message. And also we're going to be sending in the user ID. And that's going to be via user dot, is it underscore ID? Is it underscore ID? No, it's user ID. So user dot user ID, just like that. So we're sending in the message and also we're sending in the user ID. Now, obviously, we still need to do it with credentials, and set this to true. And then even though we haven't sent nothing back, but if we do, we should get data. And I want just console.log data. And I messed up. Okay. All right. So do I have another? Let me get rid of this. Control save this now. And damn it, user is not defined. What do you mean user is not defined? Oh yeah, it's in props. So let me actually do this. User. There we go. I just destructured it up here. That's it. So this should be working. So now let's actually send something. I'm actually going to keep a close look at right here because we should see a console log, right? So let me see. Let me refresh it just for good measure. Screw it, just something. Submit and oof. Oh, guys. I'm pretty sure you caught this already. I'm pretty sure you did. But if you didn't, in our server, in our app.js, we don't have nothing to actually read form data, right? So we need to, what's it called? Body parse. But luckily for us, we don't need body parse because we're using Express. What is it? Express. Where is it at? 4? Yeah, 4.16. We could actually use just Express because it came with it. So app.use express dot URL encoded, and we're going to just say this as extended true, and also app dot use express dot JSON. Boom. All right, now we have access to everything, and there we go. Look at that. It did it for us. We got our message, and we also got the user ID, which is what we wanted, right? All right, now that we have that, we could actually focus on actually saving it to our database. And trust me, this is going to be a wild ride right here. From here on out, this is going to be like, what was going on? All right, so please try to pay attention to this part. All right, so first of all, now that we're grabbing that, what we could actually do is say const tweet. We're going to set that equal to await tweet service dot add tweet. Remember, we created that services. Let me just add tweet. Yes, we did. Let me actually control save that. So add tweet, and we need to pass it in the message and then user ID. So message and user ID. There we go. And then after we do that, it should have saved it already because obviously we're over here, we're saving it, and then we're just returning that tweet. So let's just log out the actual tweet. So that way we can see what's going on, right? Control save. And let's actually, I keep on saying actually, let's log into MongoDB to see what's going on. Is it? Yeah, right here. So we got Twitter. Let's go to collections, user, and we have one user, which is web dev journey. Awesome. And we don't have no tweets yet. So let's actually save a tweet. All right. So let's go back to our little form. this is my first tweet. Okay, let's submit this. And look at this. We actually got a tweet back, as you can see right here. And you're going to see that we have creator as the user ID right here. Look at that. That's pretty great, isn't it? And the message is, this is my first tweet, and the ID of this tweet is this. So let's look at what happened right here. Let me actually refresh, and we have tweets right there. And you're going to see that, hey, we got a creator, and this is the object ID, like I said, of this. So B39D, this is actually my user. As you can see right there, B39D, that's my user. So we actually have the correct tweet. Let me actually get rid of some of these. So we have the correct tweet. I mean the creator for that tweet. But look at our user. We don't have nothing stored in the created tweets, right? We don't have nothing stored in there. That's because we need to actually save it as well in the created, or in this user ID. All right. We just saved that tweet and also gave it the user ID, but we never actually saved the tweet ID right here, the tweets ID, to the user that actually created that tweet, right? Via the let me see, where's the models, user model right here, tweets created. We never saved it right here for that user. That's what we need to do. All right. So in index, what we want to do in here is grab the user, the actual user, right? So we're going to do user.find by ID and actually find the user and then save that tweet ID to that user tweets created, right? And I'm hoping this all is making sense to you guys, right? Because it's this relationships between NoSQL is kind of like difficult to. It's not difficult, but it's weird, right? Because I'm used to doing it in Postgres, but yeah. Anyways, let's do it. So we could actually create another service for user service, or we could just do it in here, which I'm not too sure. Whatever way you want to do it, honestly. Sorry, I had to step out for a bit. So the user service. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do, guys. The user service. You could actually do that on your own. I'm gonna do that on my own. But for right now, I'm gonna just include the user model inside of here. User from is going to equal require user slash, no, it's not there. It's actually one more out, and then models slash the user model. So what you could actually create a user service like I said, guys, and do it again. But I'm gonna just be doing it this way because it's so much faster doing it this way. But like I said, after this video is done, I am going to refactor this and just create a user service. But I want you guys to do that on your own, so that way you get a sense of how all this works, or how to type it up or write it, right? So in here, where we're going, God, man, my throat is like killing me right now. So right here, what we're going to be doing is saying, hey, user.find by ID, since we do have the ID, and that ID is user ID. Then we're going to get a user back, right? And we want to do something. We want to do something with this user. What we want to do is actually add this tweet, right, to the actual user, or not this tweet in general, but the ID of that tweet. So down here, what I'm gonna say is, since we have the user, now we could do user.chirps, not chirps, dude. I keep on saying chirps. Tweets. What do I call it? What do we call it? Tweets created. And since it's an array, tweets created dot push. Since it's an array, we could actually push. There it is. Push, and we want to push the actual tweet. Now, obviously, we're not going to actually push the whole tweet. We're not going to give it all this unnecessary things. It's going to factor out the actual ID of the tweet, since we over here we specify that the type is going to be the object ID. So it's going to pull just the ID, this ID out, and then save that to the tweets created, right? And all I want to do right here is, once we do that, I want to say user dot save, and that is it. And once we do that, we could actually return res.json, or actually let's actually what's it called, tag a dot then right here, and we're gonna get user again, and we're gonna just simply console.log user. Save this. Everything should be working. So let's actually go back to our form and refresh this. Let's add some stuff, submit, and we should have, let me see, right there, look at this, tweets created. We have an array, and this array has one object inside of it, which is whatever message it is. But don't worry, you're like, but it added the whole thing. It really didn't add the whole thing. It's just giving us everything. It populated that stuff for us. If we actually take a look inside of our Twitter, refresh, go to users. Wait, did I refresh this? Did I refresh it? Did I refresh? Refresh. I'll get rid of this. Let's go to users. There it is. Look at this. Tweets created right there. And we're going to see that, hey, we have a one index, and that object ID is 5E1C9. If you go to tweets, there it is, 5E1C9, and that's a new message that we created. Look at that, right? It's just storing the tweets ID inside of tweets created, which is exactly what we want. But every time we call it, or every time we actually grab the user, it's going to populate that information for us, as you can see right here. So what we could do is, since it lives inside tweets created, we could actually go right here and just say res.json, and I'm gonna just say we're gonna send back tweets, and we're going to send the user dot, and then it's tweets created, right? Paste that just like so. Now let's control save this, and let's actually create one more, so that way we could actually see it in the front end, right? So over here, refresh the page. This is another tweet. Submit, and we should get some data back. Yes, we do. We got an array, and we're gonna see that, hey, this array contains object IDs 5E1C9, or the same thing. It did it twice because I messed up. And here's another one, the A7A9, and we could actually check that that is actually one of our tweets. Refresh. Inside of tweets, what was it? A7A9 right here, A7A9. And this is another tweet. This is the actual message. But notice that this doesn't really make sense to us, because we really don't want the actual, we don't want the object IDs. We actually want the messages, right? But that's going to be in another video, or the next video, where we actually decrypt this or populate this with the actual data that we want, and actually spit it out in our front end. But you're seeing that everything's coming together now, right? We're actually having tweets now. They're actually associated to the correct user. And we actually could grab the tweets from that user right there, user created. But we do need to populate it, and that's what we're going to be doing. So that was it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you understood or learned something from this. Make sure that you actually read up on how ref works with MongoDB, because this is going to be the key point on keeping these relationships with each other, right? Because we got the tweet service, we got the user model, we still need the following, right? So when we follow a person, we're going to reference a model for that, right? And you do need to understand how ref works. So I encourage you guys to look up how ref works and get accustomed to it. But that was it for this video, guys. We actually did quite a bit on this video. And by the way, guys, the styling of this application, I'm gonna be doing this offhand, or what's it called? Like, not offhand, but offsite, meaning that I don't even know how you call it, but basically I'll be working on the styling on my own. It's not gonna be pretty styling, but it's going to give us something to work with. And I encourage you guys to just add your own styling. I'm not gonna add the styles files into GitHub, so that way I don't override anything that you're doing. But I am going to be adding my own styles, and you're going to see that the page is going to be changing every other video because the styles are going to be different. So I'm just letting you know that. But anyways, leave a comment if you liked it, or hit that like button if you liked it. Subscribe if you have not. And if you wish to support me, I do have a Patreon page where you could do so. I will really appreciate it. And thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.